talk us through how you would explain your business proposition, because it's a little bit different. You mentioned off camera that it's not like the Uber of X or whatever. There's nothing really to compare it to. So how have you been able to perfect your elevator pitch, and how would you best describe that?
No pressure. I'll let
Go for it.
No,
Nice. So look, I think we think of ourselves as ultimately building an ecosystem which allows these practitioners to thrive, right? Allows them to unlock their potential, and we do that by, effectively going, come and join our community, come and get access and build relationships with other practitioners, some within your vertical, some outside of your vertical, and then use world-class facilities to enhance the product you're selling to your client. So what it's doing is it's creating this supportive environment where now as an individual, I can go and set up and run my business and grow it over time as our platform grows. And so that's the model. Members, practitioners pay us a membership fee, and then they buy credits. They use those credits to purchase services. Today, the predominant service we sell is physical infrastructure to run your business. Tomorrow, it will be marketing services, accounting services, things that help you grow your business so you can spend your time as a practitioner doing what you should be doing, which is learning how to be better at your craft and earning. So you learn and earn, and we ultimately are the thing that sits behind you and allows you to flourish.
Yeah. I was going to say, you can almost see us as a bit of a petri dish for the health and wellness practitioners. So we want to give them every possible opportunity, whether it's physical or digital, to help them grow their business. So as Vish said, right now it's heavily weighted towards the physical side of things, but over the next phase of time, we are going to be really pushing on that sort of business support service side of the business. And I think we're already starting to take steps in that direction. I think what you'll realize is when you speak to most health and wellness practitioners is a lot of them don't, when they're studying to become a personal trainer or a physiotherapist, they learn the technical information about how to actually deliver their service, but they don't understand how to run a business. So a lot of them lack the basic skill sets around marketing, finance management, that side of actual running a business, and they just focus purely on how to deadlift, how to squat, how to fix an ACL, all that sort of stuff. So there's a massive gap where they're lagging. So we are going to be filling that gap and helping support them on that journey towards creating a thriving business.
Your clients then are the therapists and trainers as opposed to the people that would use those, is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we describe them as practitioners and guests, because irrespective, if we're going to deliver for the practitioner, we still have to deliver for the guest. You're not going to want to serve it. You don't want to build your business in an environment where your guest is going, I don't like it, it's not fit for purpose. And so, but I think the angle at which we've developed our product and come at it has been practitioner first. Whereas I think if you look at the consumer world of health and wellness, it's all about the guest. And that's been the balance. And so if you come into one of our environments, we've got effectively a beautiful co-working environment for these practitioners. And if you look at the traditional models, they might get a staff room. A staff room might have a couple of plastic chairs and maybe a coffee machine from the 70s. And so that's what we're trying to shift, is actually make them feel cared for. But actually that co-working business is the brain of our business. It's where these guys build connections, grab coffee, have lunch, but build relationships, share knowledge. It's gold in there.
And you were mentioning when we were doing the tour that you're quite particular about who comes on board. So you can't just say, I want to go in here and you'll sign someone up. You've got a bit of an approval process. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, so we've got a pretty strict verification process that members will need to go through in order to become a member of Until. And essentially we put it in place to protect the community. So when you look at the health and wellness community, there's a large variety of skill and knowledge base that segment or separates the industry. We wanted to really target that top 3 to 5% of quality, especially in London to start with. And by doing that, it means that every practitioner in our space can look around and know that everyone around them is A, good quality, but B, they can refer their customers to and create that holistic service that I was talking to you about earlier. But essentially we do that by looking at a few different things. We look at their sort of qualifications and certifications, time in the industry, and also we assess them as a bit of a person. So they have a phone call, but also when they come in, it's almost like I meet you, you meet me. It's a bit of a two-way interview to understand if they're the right fit for the community, because we're really careful around creating a really growth hungry and growth mindset based community. So we don't want people who know it all or who have been there and done it, who don't need help and support. We're looking for people who are like-minded and collaborative. So that's why we really curate that industry, or that industry of professions.
On the wall as you come in, you mentioned that you started with a few services. I think first one was fitness, the other one was coaching, there was one more. Can you talk through where you started in terms of those key services and how you've evolved those?
I mean, to train, treat, and coach, right? So, and you know, having learned about the business and all the specialisms that exist, it almost feels too generic. But our trainers are effectively anyone that delivers their service or the majority of their service from a physical gym, you know, training space, which is it's not a consumer gym space. It's a fit for purpose fitness space, strength and conditioning space. Then you've got our treatment practitioners. So that's your physios, your osteos, your chiropractors. Chiropractors, that's it. And you know, that's kind of one of the biggest areas of our business, but we started quite narrow. Anyone that uses a plinth, a room, you know, needs a sink, that sort of clinical environment to do their work. And our final communities are coaches. So anything talk therapy based, psychotherapists, nutritional coaching, performance coaching. And so those were the three focus areas we had. And as we've developed the business, we've seen this whole raft of new practitioners wanting to join the community. I mean, health and wellness is changing. And so you've got all sorts of different types of practitioners, and we've had to adjust for that. And so in our newest facility, we now have spaces which is for lifestyle doctors. We have spaces for dental practitioners, hygienists. And you know, if you'd, you know, coming from a healthcare background, I would have never imagined that those two worlds would have met. But I think it's another thing that COVID has enabled, right? It's enabled these two worlds to go, well, actually, we can't live totally separate. And so, yeah, you know, they came to us. We had a radiologist come to us and say, I want to work out of your space because I want to be part of this community, because these guys are the ones that referred to me, and guess what? I can refer back to them. And so it kind of, you know, when we found that space in the Harley Street area, it felt like a no-brainer to start to offer those services.
How have you found I'll call them your trainers, coaches, etc. How have you found they've responded in terms of referrals? Because the way you explain it kind of makes sense that if you're a trainer, you need maybe some nutrition, you maybe need a chiro, like those things, as you said, totally go hand in hand. But in most situations, you go over here and have one thing done, and then you have to go out and search and Google to find someone over here, no connection. So I can see the benefit of having this kind of premium facility where everything's under one roof. But are you finding that the people that are involved in it are really happy with that collaboration and seeing the benefits?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say is, yes, they are. Initially, when we first started it, there was always a bit of hesitancy because it's the first time these practitioners have been together, especially when you bring health and wellness practitioners together in a hub when they see themselves as competing for the same professional. Initially, that was the first port of call where we had a bit of an issue where we thought, is there going to be a problem? But it was absolutely not a problem at all. Everyone we've targeted, and we're trying to shift the mindset around how to approach health and wellness to a much more collaborative point of view. So once we'd got our members there, and it was a bit of an educational part for some people, majority of ours got it straight away. But we have quite a hands-on approach with helping members with cross-referral. So we host lots of social events, networking events. It could be something as simple as grabbing a coffee and introducing people. Do you know this person does this person's a radiologist, blah, 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 and introducing people. But yeah, I guess ultimately we've seen, as soon as members know what their referral network looks like and how broad that is, they're more than happy to refer out because they can control that experience for their customer. They know that, as I said earlier, they know that everyone they're going to be referring to is good quality, as opposed to sending someone off to Harley Street for physio, across the West End for PT, across the city for that. So it gives them ultimately control over who they're referring to, which is why we've had such a great uptake in cross-referral.
I mean, it was the biggest pushback we got from the industry when we started talking about what we were doing, right? And the natural sense was, That's never going to work. How are you going to have 50 PTs working out one space? How are you going to have all these practitioners in one location? And look, we have a strong belief that in order to be the best at your job, you have to really care about what you do. And given what our practitioners do, they can't really care lots about their whole area. So a physio is not going to be, a world-class physio across the entire body. They naturally, throughout their career, will begin to have preference and interest. And our job is to really encourage that behavior. So don't be, John the physio. Be John the physio that loves helping people prepare for Ironman. Be John the physio who loves helping people recover from a hip operation. Be John the physio that's the shoulder guy. Because guess what? Then the community works really well, because they're not just going, hey, I need to refer someone, let me just pick a physio. The client can be like, oh, I've got a skiing injury, and they go, well, this is your guy, and this is why he's your guy. So not only does the practitioner feel proud that they're referring their client to the best in class, but the consumer has a brilliant outcome. And guess what? All of a sudden, there's career trajectory for these what used to be pretty generic industries. And so look, that's what I think has been the unlock for a lot of people as our business has evolved.
Yeah, you've seen the people who have a real niche really starting to surge forwards. So as Vish said, that there's practitioners who place themselves as the specialist for shoulders. They specialize in that. That's what they do. There's someone who specializes in women's health, someone who's a hormone specialist. And that just makes it so much easier, A, to market yourself, but B, as Vish sort of alluded to, when you think about who you can refer your clients to, and it's actually a really nice thing to be able to say, don't worry, I've got you sorted. This is the best shoulder specialist in London, and I've got them in the same building as me right here. I'll get you in this week. So it's such a nice experience to be able to do that.
Dan's just touched on the other thing. People are busy. And I was talking to some of our trainers last week, and they were saying some of the gold was, like, when their client's injured, it doesn't matter how many times I tell you, here's a phone number, call him and book him. And when you're busy and you're running around, you're like, I'll get to it, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. In this environment, they can go, hey, we've got this personal training session, and straight after, I've already booked you in with that physio. It's all happening there, and much easier then to make sure your clients recover better and get back to. Because historically, what I found was there was this weird thing where personal trainers would be nervous about referring some of their clients because the treatment might mean that they stop training. Whereas actually in our environment, what happens is because they collaborate on the treatment, they continue to train, they just train in a different way. And so, in that scenario, both the practitioners are happy, but the consumer, ultimately, that all of this is in service of helping people live longer, healthier lives. And so it works really well.
The last thing to add on it is, the quality of care you get when everyone is under the same roof is materially different than if everyone is based in different locations. So generally what you'll find is and you see this in professional sporting environments, when they've got a joined up team, a holistic multidisciplinary approach, you'll find that the service of care is so much tighter just due to the level of communication. So if I'm a PT and Vish is a physio, as soon as I've seen them, I can pass on the notes. There's no breakdown of communication. There's a closed loop of comms, which that's often where it breaks down. You'll see personal trainers asking the customer, oh, what did your physio say? What did they say? And then you're never going to get it straight from the horse's mouth. And there's always going to be a version of Chinese whispers there somewhere, somehow. So we get a much tighter loop of communication, which means ultimately a better level of care for the customer.